Beep, 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 beep. Hello, welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. I'm not happy. I'm unhappy. Bloody weather got the better of me. I finally had to close the window. Fuming, I is. Oh. Couldn't get to the 1st of December. So annoying. November, sorry. So annoying. I'm bloody cold, bloody weather. But it's plummeted the last couple of days, hasn't it? For some reason. So, here. Now, interesting. I saw Mother kissing Santa Claus. No, I saw some rumblings on the Twitters yesterday. There were some rumblings from Sophie, who a detransitioner, about the Sanderford Clinic. Now, some of you may be aware, some of you may not. But the Sanderford Clinic is a clinic in Scotland, which is the equivalent of the Tavistock, you see. Now, we know what happened with the Tavistock. I mean, sadly, they're opening 4 bloody new units, which looks like they're being run by the same nutters. But so Sanderford is very much like the Tavistock. So I caught up with something else yesterday morning as well, which was from October the 12th and is in reference to another clinic. So I thought, well, I've been prodded by this clinic thing twice in a day. Let's give you a bit of an update on the clinic elsewhere. So I've got an article here from the Women's Forum Australia. So we're back down under. A Women's Forum Australia, which I think is worthwhile you knowing about. So let's begin without further. Oh, you can join as a member now. So there's a join button. If not, subscribe, like, great. Come and get some member, what is it they call it? Member only offerings. So you can get some of them. There's a couple of them up now. Doing some more bits and bobs as we go. And you get access to these early without adverts, which is, I think there's plus people really like the fact they haven't got to bother about the adverts. Because I know people do sit through them to support me and I'm really grateful for that. But now there's a way to do it without, having to bother. So last night, Labour MP, the Honourable Greg Donnelly, delivered a speech in the New South Wales Legislative Council, highlighting grave concerns about Maple Leaf House. This is all these innocuous names. Reminds me of the Golden Girls. Don't take me to Shady Pines, Dorothy. A government-funded facility in Newcastle providing services to children and young people presenting with gender dysphoria. You know me, I'm not convinced it exists. Oh, but I had a conversation with a nurse last night about it. Well, a potential nursey, who thinks it does. It makes interesting differentiations between certain parts of the diagnosis, but a medic would. Mr. Donnelly called for an urgent independent inquiry into the facility, raising serious concerns regarding various treatment practices being undertaken at Maple Leaf House. Sound familiar, as Shirley Bassey would say, it's just a little bit of history repeating. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? We've been here before. I hope that the inquiry doesn't end up being as torturous and takes so long as was to get people to act here, even though whistleblowers, such as Dr. David Bell, had done more than enough, and Sonia Appleby, if you remember the Appleby case, who had done more than enough to start bringing attention to what was going on. Now, what he said was that the practices being undertaken at MLH included inadequate record keeping, coercion of parents, and rushed, risky treatment practices. Wherever you go with this gender nonsense, wherever you go with the lie of the transgender, wherever you go, we find the same things, don't we? Dishonesty, manipulation, danger, negligence, wherever you go. Some are elite nut jobs. In light of the growing evidence and research in both Australia and overseas, Turf Island, overseas regarding the harms of medicalised gender affirmation treatments for minors, women, let alone, everybody else, it's just as damaging to everybody. Minors, Women's Forum Australia supports Mr. Donnelly's call for an independent inquiry into Maple Leaf House. We'd also support a broader statewide inquiry into such treatments in New South Wales, as is currently being called for in Victoria. So in Victoria and Australia, they're already calling for this as well. They're already saying, come on, this needs looking at, and this is the sort of thing that we should see happening everywhere. There's a link in the article, which is, of course, in the Dooberies, if you wish to find out about the situation in Victoria as well, which is interesting. It is critical that such inquiries take place in advance of legislation banning conversion therapy practices. Here we go. So the conversion therapy ban, which is a Trojan horse for gay conversion therapy, I mean, it actually is going to bring gay conversion therapy legally into the public sphere if Annalise Doddery has her way. They're beginning to see this in Australia. They're saying, hang on, what's going on? So we must stop the conversion therapy bill at all costs. At all costs. It's not worth it. And we must ensure that it does not include any reference to gender identity or any other fake facsimile nonsense, right? So it says they must take place before legislation for banning conversion therapy, being proposed by both independent New South Wales MP Alex Greenwich and the New South Wales Labour government. Again, Labour government, the left, you see. Labour government. Now, while Mr Greenwich has already introduced his bill, the government has indicated that it will introduce its own before the end of the year. If the government's bill is anything like that introduced in states like Victoria, it will restrict, punish and or criminalise medical professionals, parents and others who are trying to help those suffering with gender dysphoria in a way that doesn't just simply affirm a person's gender identity, which of course is a simulacrum. It's a simulacrum, it's a made-up thing. Now, this is particularly concerning for gender dysphoric children, of whom girls are grossly overrepresented. That's interesting. Now what they've got here is a submission here by this forum to the government's consultation. That may be worth you having a look at, particularly in a sort of, right, how could we do it way? How would I do it if I had to do a submission? That's well worth exploring if you're curious. It would also make it even more difficult to question and oppose concerning practices taking place at facilities like Maple Leaf House. Okay? And what they've got for you then is the full speech by Mr. Donnelly, the full text of the speech. So I'll do a bit of it, right? Just so that you can get a flavour, because then you can go and read the rest from the Women's Forum and possibly find out a bit more about them on their website. Mr. President, as I have reported to House before, Maple Leaf House is a facility established, funded and operated by New South Wales Health to treat children and adolescents who may be or are gender dysphoric. Since the 1st of April 2021, when it officially opened, and up to the 24th of September 2022, 480 received so-called treatment there. Almost 30 months later, who knows how many have passed through its front doors. Honourable members will know that since September last year, I've been both inside and outside of Parliament raising serious concerns regarding treatment practices undertaken at MLH, Maple Leaf House, right, MLH. Such has been my concerns. I have corresponded on both 29th of March and the 23rd of May this year with Mrs. Susan Pearce, AM, Mrs. Susan Pearce, Secretary, North South Wales Ministry of Health, Dr. Kerry Chant, Dr. Murray Wright, that's the chief psychiatrist. They didn't even acknowledge him. They didn't even acknowledge him. This is again the arrogance of these people who push this gender identity nonsense being displayed in Australia as it was over here. In an adjournment speech I gave on the 22nd of August, I informed the House that I'd sought and received through making a GIPA application, pursuing a matter before NCAT and undertaking discussion with the Crown Solicitor's Office, some limited information about the goings-on within MLH. So, like a freedom of information request over here, or a subject access request or a number of other paths that could have taken place, that's what's been occurring. And it's been discovered that New South Wales Health does not have a functioning and accessible record-keeping system that details the natal sex of child and adolescent patients receiving treatment at MLH. Just a little bit of history repeating. It's a pattern. I mean, they apply the template, they practice it. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's deliberate. Deliberate pattern. Hence, the New South Wales Health are able to provide a breakdown of the total number of patients by natal sex, those receiving puberty blockers treatment by natal sex, and those receiving two-stage cross-sex hormone treatment by natal sex. They've fudged them. It's just repeating itself. It's just Tavistock over and over again, Sanderford. And now we've got Maple Leaf House. Same thing. Look, go and have a look. There's more to it. There's far more to it in terms of trying to understand what exactly has happened there. But it's very interesting as well to go and visit the Women's Forum in Australia and perhaps repost their article, give them a bit of support in that way. From my perspective, I'm not surprised, and I wish I was. I wish, it's just you just go, all right, again. They're at it again. And I think we still see the Conservative government, even as we move towards an election fever and post the meetings of both the Conservative and Labour in Manchester and Liverpool, respectively, that they're not taking this anywhere near seriously. But maybe in the background, and I don't know about it. Maybe in the background, I don't know about it. But either way, they're opening new clinics and they need to shut them. There's no such thing. Gender dysphoria. I'm fed up with it now. No such thing. You're just unwell. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that you think you're in the wrong body. If you think you're in the wrong body, it's because you don't like your body. That's body dysmorphia. And we shouldn't be going, that's all right, we'll cut it off. Next, liposuction for anorexics. It's all insane. But you let me know what you think. Subscribe, do the usual. Yeah, buy me a coffee if you can afford to, please do. Or become a warrior teacher. I'll see you later. All right? Ta-ra, folks.